So we are live. Hopefully get this all going. Always getting back to the main screen on this thing is always a challenge for me. So should be uploading anytime soon, and we can definitely get started. I know that I have it on my ultra low and we have commercial coming in. Fantastic. And then we'll get that going. And I got to open up the Discord as well. So, waiting just a little bit longer to get this all started. Got to get past our commercials. So for those who are watching, I'm glad I have these up on my screen here, so that way I know who's Okay, so here we are. So now most people have probably clicked through everything. So welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. I should have audio. Let me just double check.
Welcome in. Thank you so much.
I do. So great. I'm going to turn it up one little notch here so we can get just a little bit more sound. And I'm going to move this over here as well. That way I can get even a little bit more audio from my voice. Okay, so here we are. We are at another live stream. This is live stream number 4. I'm very happy that we're able to continue doing this. As always, we'll be going through a bunch of the questions on from the Discord, and this chat box doesn't look like it's going to work, so we're just going to get rid of that. We'll remove the chat box. Yep, there we go. And so let's go ahead and jump right into the questions after these short updates. So let me pull up our questions. There we are, and okay, question for live stream. There it is. All right, so first little update is thank you all so much for the 20,000 subscribers. It is still so crazy to think that we have 20,000 people who are basically subscribed to watch things about Shakuhachi. I think that is fantastic. It makes me so happy. And the next goal is 50,000. That's the next major break in YouTube. And then after 50,000 is 100,000. So let's go ahead and jump into those first couple of questions. And always as before, and as all the live streams go, please feel free to ask your questions in the live chat. The more questions you guys ask, the longer that you keep me around to answer those questions. Okay, so the first question we had is actually from a student of mine who wanted me to write this one down, which is how to fix bad fingering habits. And he says, for example, I learned how to play re wrong and can't stop using the wrong fingering. Okay, so for example, this particular student was playing re with only the first hole covered. And what was ending up happening is every time they got to that note, they only could play it that way. They were unable to revert and start to use both of the fingers. So how do you break a bad habit? Now, that is like $1 million question. It's so hard. How they say old habits die hard, right? So I'll give you my answer for this and what I think helps the most, which is you have to create little exercises or games to challenge yourself in order to not do that thing anymore. So okay, so what you want to do is you want to use this new fingering. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a system or a game where we want to try and hit that note with the correct fingering. So we're going to do every single note to the note that we want to fix. So the note is re. So I'm going to just go from ro to re. Okay, now I'm going to go su to re. Okay, now re to re. Chi to re. Then e to re. And then ro to re. And then you can kind of put that in a little like pattern, something like this. And then you can do it backwards. And you just do little patterns like that so you practice from every single note. Then after you do those major notes, then you might want to go to like a tsumeri. And kind of do like merry notes and challenge yourself to do something else on top of that. So that would be my recommendation for that little bit there. And that's a great question, and I think that's something that we all struggle with a lot, is finding those right fingerings, or maybe we learned something wrong, we have to go over it, and you can use that same thing with many different notes. So you struggle with Su Mary, let's say you can play Su Mary by itself, but you can't play it in context. We'll do that same thing I just did, and you'll find your Su Marys having a lot more success. So fantastic question. Okay. Next from Linus, who is HSBP he is my moderator. So, can you discuss good practice habits, or perhaps suggest a good practice routine? So my general way of doing practice has remained fairly consistent, and I can only recommend what I do. In this case, because each individual is going to have different needs. And so sometimes I might say for one person, oh, you should spend more time here, or you need to spend less time there. Like, if I have a student who works on the metronome all the time, but doesn't have rhythmic issues, I might tell them, don't do so much metronome work, do more work on the drone instead, because your pitch is weaker than your rhythm. But what I start out with is, I always start out with just a few rows, Otsu, Kan, Daikon, and start getting those. I see how I feel physically. So if I'm feeling really like tight and tense, then I'm going to go stretch. And I'm going to stretch. Might even do this like a little workout, just running up and down the stairs a little bit, get the blood flowing, stretch out the muscles a little bit more. Then I'll come back, play those rows, do a check. Second thing I do after that, scales and other dexterity exercises. Then I will jump into the passages of music that I'm working on, and I always go over those passages with a metronome, and I go over those passages with a drone, depending on whether it needs a metronome or not. If it's Honkyoku, I obviously won't use a metronome. So that's my very general, like blatant, boom, 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 boom. That's a standard practice session. But you might be working on certain things that require things. You might want to be lengthening your breath, so you might want to utilize the Voldine a little bit more in your practice, which I didn't talk about in this area. Sometimes I use the Voldine as well, but there's no like absolute set. Like this is, I have that little thing I just told you, which is kind of like my basis, but I'm always adding and taking things out of that. And I think that if we stay too consistent, it's just like going to the gym. If you do the same lift every single time, after a certain amount of time, you're actually not going to gain any results from it anymore. So you got to change it up. Okay, flying through these questions today. These are really good questions too. I like the first two so far. Okay, Robert asks a performance question here. So he says, do you play the same pieces each time you perform, or do you tailor the experience to each event? I tailor the experience to each event. And I sometimes make little rules for myself as well. I'll say like, you know what, this time I'm not going to play this piece this year. I played it way too much last year, so I'm not going to do it for a year. I'm going to wait until the subsequent year to do it. I did for example, I did this concert series, I think it was in 2017 or 2018. It was called Birds of Japan. I had a piece by Gabriel Lubel on there, which is called Song of the Little Owls. I did Tsuru no Sugimori, Koden Sugimori. I did a piece by Yamamoto Hozan called Kari. And then I did a few other pieces that were bird related. And so on that program, like I did that program, I think like 10 or 12 times that year. I retired all those pieces for the next year, and I didn't put them on other concerts. So, if I'm doing like a concert program where I'm going to tour that, then I'm going to play that same exact set everywhere I go. If it's like, oh, you have this event over here that's for this, and you have that event over there that's for this, I do different pieces. Thank you for the question. Very, very good question. Okay, so here we go. We are going to go on to the next question, which is from Mr. Watermelon. And Mr. Watermelon always has the great form. So HSBP will need to have your liner notes for this one. So get the red line pen out, and let's see how he does this time. Dear Tido, great introduction. I already love it. Thank you for hosting the live stream. Well, thank you for being here on this live stream. I know you're here. I have a few questions. The questions pertain to the Voldine breathing device. Perfect timing. We just mentioned it, and I'll go grab it in just a second. Okay, for reference, I am an absolute Shakuhachi beginner and a super happy new Shoten student. Wow, look at that advertisement. I was wondering if you could answer, or if you could advise on the following, please. And that has a colon at the end after it, question mark and a colon. Do you have any recommendation for the amount of time that a beginner should use the Voldine per day? And 2, what should I be aiming for with the Voldine? With practice, should I be aiming eventually to reach the highest value on the device? I have watched the YouTube videos where the Voldine is discussed, and these questions arose for me. Thank you for any help with questions, and thank you so much for all involved in the live stream. God bless. Well, God bless you, man. I'm so happy. So let's grab the Voldine really quickly. So this is the Voldine that he's mentioning. You can get these online. And for anybody who's ever had like a collapsed lung or who's gone into surgery where, you know, they have struggle breathing afterwards, you might be used with this device. Okay? So, recommended time. I don't want to put it as a recommended time, but I wouldn't be sitting here doing this for 10 minutes, right? What I would do is maybe do like 5 to 10 of them, and really try to focus on how you're breathing in, and really, you know, like see how it has like the best and better and good and so on. Like, you know, you really want to keep it at that low part. And it's not so much about like, oh, I'm going to max this thing out and do a great job. It's really about training how to breathe in slowly and deeply, right? All the way to the bottom of the lungs. And so that way you take better breaths when you play. Honestly, I think about like 5 of these would be great, right? 5 of them. And what should you be aiming for? Well, just try to fill it up as much as you can, but it's not about hitting the max. Everybody has different lung sizes. So trying to say like, oh, well, I'm going to go past it. Like, I'm going to go past the whole thing and get it. If you do it, great. But, you know, it's not about just hitting the max, because anybody can really just like forcefully breathe in hard and get to the max really quickly. But to slowly inhale and hit that max is a lot more difficult. So that's what I would recommend for both of them. So thank you very much for your question, Mr. Watermelon. Okay. Jeff, carry on or be merry? So, we have our results from HSBP. Mr. Watermelon's question meets all points of our question rubric. His high school English teacher should be very proud. There you go. All right. Jeff, carry on or be merry? Sean, another question on flute cap size. How do different cap sizes, e.g. 5 versus 6 or 7 versus 8, have different playability? I've noticed on the Yozon flute site, beginner flutes often have a cap size between 6 to 8, whereas higher level flutes often are 6 to 5. Plus, cap size is in the outer diameter. How do large cap sizes usually just indicate, do larger cap sizes usually just indicate larger interior dimensions or wall thickness? The reason I ask, sometimes the Yozon site will list an 8 as thick. Yes, so you'll find in both the beginner flutes and the professional flutes, it just depends on what is in his stock at that time. So sometimes you'll get a lot of beginner flutes that are on the thicker side, and then you get them on the thinner side. Same with the professional flutes. All of my flutes tend to be on the thicker side. I think the easiest way to kind of just digest what it is the thinner you go, the warmer it's going to be. The thicker you go, the more core you're going to have. So warmth versus core. Now the warmth is going to be that kind of, like a warm tone, but the thick tone and like the core resonance, that's going to be like the depth of the note. So how much there's actually like resonance in the flute and so far. If you have a bigger bore and you have a thicker flute, you're going to obviously have more core and resonance. Some of the important aspects of it is the hardness of the bamboo. So if the bamboo is very hard, you're going to have a better sounding flute. Also, that's why it resonates more when you have the G lacquer on the inside. So playability wise, it really depends. Some people will have the size 5 is going to be like just magic. It will just link up with them. And they'll be able to play no problem. Some people will get a 5 in their hands, and then the sound will keep breaking as they're playing because they're trying to push so much. They normally play with a bigger breath. It's not going to work for them. But then vice versa, person with a big breath takes a size 8, size 9 flute, and it's magic. They play it. It's like, this is exactly what I wanted. Then the thin breath person goes to the thicker flute, and then there's like, I can't even make a good sound on this flute. So it really just depends on the individual, and everybody's going to approach different flutes differently, obviously. So my sort of thing, when I am recommending people for flutes at their first time, I usually recommend that they go for a 6 or a 7. If you're taller and have bigger hands and have a bigger breath, I lean for the 7 as a starter. And then as you go on, if you want thicker flutes, you can. If you want to try thinner flutes, you can. The best way to figure this out is to be able to, go to Japan and try a bunch of things out. I know that's not possible for everybody, but, that is obviously the best way. Ollie S is saying, I asked too many questions, but no, not at all. You should definitely, you should keep asking all the questions you want. So we'll ask this, and then we'll get to Antoli's question. Most shakuhachi come in 2 parts. Obviously, it's much easier to get an exact length with notes at the end and then join them together to try to find the exact right length, correct? But it seems to me that the ability to separate the instrument is not very important. A cello does not need to be detached at the neck, etc. So therefore, it seems to me this feature is one for craftsmanship, and it is therefore a demonstration of the maker's art to perfect the instrument that comes in 2 parts. I'm very happy with my 1-part Yozan flute, and rather have a better 1-part flute than a 2-part flute for the same money. Now the question, is detachable 2-part flutes anything more than a tradition in craftsmanship? Yeah, basically it's a lot easier to make the flute when you have it in 2 pieces. It's much easier to lacquer the inside and everything. So you're much more likely to get a higher quality instrument because the person can work on the inside. But that doesn't mean that they can't make an incredible 1-piece flute. Even on the beginner flutes, though, those 1 pieces, they're still actually divided. The only thing is that they're bound together with rattan binding, and then it's put onto a seal where you're unable to open it. So even the beginner are in 2 pieces. True Nobekon flutes are actually more expensive because they're harder to make. Sometimes you'll find a 1.8 that's a Nobekon, sounds fantastic, and whatever, and then you'll find a 2-piece that sounds better, vice versa. That can switch back and forth. So individual thing, but I would say that it's much more of a thing of craftsmanship, especially with adding in the gold and the silver and all that kind of stuff. They used to just do it with rattan binding. So hopefully that helped answer your question. So let's go to Antoli, who is in the chat here, who says, what is your opinion on beatboxing with flutes? I love it. I think it's fantastic. The great Greg Patillo, who I got to finally meet in person this year at the World Flute Festival, and it was our World Flute Society Flute Festival in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It was great, and I think it works fantastic. Yeah, that kind of stuff is really great. Even taking like Hinomaru. Yeah, that stuff is fine. And then there's nothing that you can't do on the shakuhachi that you can't do on regular flutes, and we should explore those things and try them out and see if it works. Sometimes you'll have pieces that work really well, and sometimes you'll have pieces that just fail. Some of the things I've done with beatboxing and flutes is I think works really well. Like that first line I really like. I love that I think that works really nicely, and so on. I also like to do it with a kutsuganaru. That kind of stuff works really well on the shakuhachi, I think. And it records really well. I don't think it's as good live, but if you have that and it's mic'd, I think it's very effective. Okay, great question. Okay, Kai is answering that. Okay, Sasabuki, aka Mark. This is a shakuhachi with middle joints. Okay, so that's a different thing there. He's answering that. Okay, question for the live stream. How do I improve my recall of tunes when I hear them, and how do I improve my playing from memory? So, playing from memory is a huge a topic that we can discuss, over multiple videos and multiple hours. There's lots of theories on, how this stuff is done. And we lost my audio. And when did we lose my audio? I just checked. Okay. Can everybody else hear my audio? Yeah, so I think it might just be an HSBP thing. So, okay. Yeah, all right, we'll just keep going then. All right, so on things for like recall, it's you know, you want to try to okay, I'll just tell you my idea. I don't have any like research or like, science to back this up, but I'll just tell you what works for me on recollection and recall and stuff like that, because I can still remember and sing melodies from my childhood when I was like studying like Beethoven's third, like da 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 dum, or da dum 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 da 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 da. So you have Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, and then Beethoven's Eroica, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of melodies that I can do recall. I can sing the melodies back to you on many pieces and so on. So thing number one, the way that I can remember those melodies that I just sang to you are because there's words that go to them. So this is the words to Beethoven's symphony. It's oh my God, it's Beethoven's third again, again, again. And so there's little kind of fun tools that you can use. There's one that's for Tchaikovsky's fifth that's really fun, and then there's a lot of other ones that I've made with teachers and that we've done. It's just as a fun thing. And so when you put words to it, it's extremely easy to recall those. Others are just from I've played them so many times, especially within the symphony orchestra. You end up doing a lot of the same pieces again and again. So those pieces, some of them I could play. For example, the Hofmeister, like viola concerto, I have most of that still memorized. And then also the like certain symphonies, like just the viola part, I could probably play a good portion of it just because I played it so many times. Even though I haven't touched the viola in about 5 years, I can still remember dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I remember the fingerings. I know exactly where it goes on the instrument and so on. So that's part one. So that's part two actually. So part one is creating fun lyrics over it. Part two is you just play the heck out of them until you have them, where it's just part of your muscle memory. 3 is just listening to the pieces, so have heard them many times. One of the ones that I have, memorized in terms of like I can like sing along with, and I'm talking like big classical pieces because those are usually harder to recall. It's like the Firebird Suite by Stravinsky. I've heard it many times. I've never played it, but I've heard it many times. And then also the Rite of Spring, also by Stravinsky, I've heard many times. The Miraculous Mandarin by Bartok, never played it, but I've heard it so many times and really, really love that piece. It starts with the strings, like the and then the trumpets come in and are all the brass instruments and winds. So you start to figure things out because you've just heard it so many times. And then the last thing that I would recommend is that you have to do things in little chunks. You can't be so like, I'm going to play, these 400 pieces and I'm going to try to memorize all of them at the same time, right? All these pieces that I have memorized have come from, decades of working and playing music and experiencing it. It wasn't all just like, I'm going to sit down and memorize a bunch of stuff. So if you're constantly finding yourself running through long playlists of music, you might want to shrink it down and just play a few pieces. So Svenja says, sounds like the frequent conscious consumption and practice. Yeah, pretty much. And maybe with lyrics, just write lyrics with what you have learned anyways. Biochemist Songbook. Okay. Dat Guitar. Hi, Tido. It's Dat the Guitarist. Hey, man. Hope you're doing well. Great that you're here. Really happy to have you here. Okay, let's go on to our next question. Okay, so Robert says, please, where would one start on composing original pieces? Write down your melodies. just when you start hearing things, just write down melodies and work from there. The main thing is that we try to like lock ourselves in with this is what harmony should be, and these rules and regulations on how to write pieces. None of that exists, right? That's just, you know, it's nonsense, right? That is a way of composing. But what I would do first is, as soon as you hear a melody, as soon as you come up with something, write it down, and then just start building off of that. And you know, there's many ways to do things. You can through compose something, you can take little ideas and you can fragment it and then develop ideas and so on like that. But the first and most important thing on composing original pieces is, as soon as you have an idea, write it down. Okay, quick little thing for our channel here. So on this bottom left hand side of your screen, you'll see that right next to Tido Shakuhachi there is a join button. If you click that join button, you will be shifted to another page in which you can sign up to become a Tido member. With the Tido membership, you get access to tons of lesson material. So if you're learning Shakuhachi and you want to develop your skills, this is a great place for you to go. Even in just the first level, there's 20 lessons. The second level has just about 70 lessons. And then the third has 150. And then the fourth has going over 200 now. Plus, I just had a concert last week on Saturday, and that concert is also going to be up there for the Okuden members to watch. And if you sign up for the membership, you also get a chance to win one of 4 of the new Yozan beginner flutes that I have been showcasing in the past couple of weeks. So sign up for the membership, and hopefully you will win one of those new shakuhachi. And we do the giveaway at the end of this month, September 30th, Japan Standard Time, 11 a.m. So be there or be square. Okay, I think that's it for there. Oh yeah, we're at 20,000.9 subscribers now. So 20,900. Next goal is 50,000. Share, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff that's necessary. I think we're good for there. So Dad has a question. He says, is circular breathing part of shakuhachi? Thank you. Okay. Ernie, actually, you have access to it. It's if you go to the private part of the student group, if you go to the Tido Studio, you're able to open that up and watch it. So go ahead and you can check that. But do it later. Don't do it now. Hang out with us now and then go watch it later. So anyways, Dakatar, is circular breathing a part of shakuhachi training? Thank you. No, it is not. It is not traditional. Now, there are some people who are really doing it and doing it really quite well. But I'll tell you why I don't think circular breathing should be a part of shakuhachi. Because it ruins the aspect of ma. And ma is not just the silence of the pieces, it's the overall arching phrase of how things go. Ma is everything. It's also it's a negation, right? It doesn't actually have any tangible attributes to it, so it's very hard to express. I do have a video on ma that you can check out. That's on my music theory series. So if you just if you look up Japanese music theory, time and space, maybe HSBP can find that video for us and post it into the chat. But that video will go over what ma is. And the idea of circular breathing, though, it elongates the phrase where you can just keep playing, and then that would mean it would get magawarui, or the ma would be bad, or it would be unbalanced, it would feel uncomfortable. And we want the response magaumai, the way that you use the space, the way that you use the things around you is much more balanced. So, unfortunately, we do not use, we can use circular breathing, but it's not a part of the traditional repertoire, and I don't think it should be. Okay, can you talk, this is from Linus now, can you talk a bit about the difference between playing while standing versus seated or in seiza? Okay, so, yeah, I can be very brief on this. Basically, each of them require different types of body awareness. When you're standing, you're going to want to have the weight on your heels. When you are sitting, you're going to want to have your weight on the sits bones. Those are the sharp bones in your butt. And then when you're in seiza, you're going to want to have the weight onto your heels. And that way you're going to always be sitting up straight. The main thing, this is really important, is head-hip alignment. So when your head and your hips are off, that's what causes problem. あ、こんちゃん、シャコハチ、聞いていただいて誠にありがとうございます。はものすごい大切ですね。So Kon-chan is a Shakuhachi fan, and he has his own channel for Shakuhachi. He does lots of a variety of things with Shakuhachi, so be sure to check him out as well. Masui, do you have any advice for embouchure for beginners? Yes, I do have advice for embouchure for beginners. The main thing that I would say is remember this pattern. Ah for shape, ah for tongue shape, oo for lip shape. So when you like ah, it'll send your tongue down and back a little bit, kind of making it flat, and then oo will create a better lip shape where the lips are more puckered, right? The lower lip is coming out, and you'll have a better sound. What I recommend that you check out, and this can be another video that HSBP finds, is the Ultimate Shakuhachi Guide, and that will get you started on your first note and getting embouchure going, as well as introducing the first notes. So that's the video that I would recommend for you. Okay. Audrey says, so sad these last live streams are off European time. Well, if you wake up at 2 a.m., you can watch them. However, we will be doing some of the future live streams at a later time, so that way we also help out with our European friends as well. Okay, question. How many hours of practice are expected per day for someone who is training to become a professional shakuhachi player? Oh, that's a big one. This is another one that's going to be a case-by-case basis. Some people honestly can get away with, okay, it's about efficiency. Right? If you are extraordinarily efficient, you can do it in 2 hours a day, right? If you're not so efficient, 3 hours a day. And then if you find yourself losing track of things, 4 hours a day. But it's also not just going to be, engaging with like, I'm sitting here with my instrument, right? There's also reading, listening, studying, and so on and so forth. So you want to read books, you're going to want to, you got to be very careful with which books you read, and you're going to want to listen to a bunch of recordings, old and new, just be familiar with all the repertoire and so on. So that's all included in that kind of stuff. So you're really just, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work if you want to do it, just like anything else. So imagine if you wanted to become a like a professional plumber or a professional let's say welder or something like that. The amount of time that they have to spend and the type of practice and the different types of welds and different rules and stuff like this, and it's what kind of laws, how things have to be done, different types of welding in different circumstances and so on and stuff. All that kind of stuff has to be learned. So the time that kind of takes is the same kind of time that it takes for a shakuhachi player to become a master and a professional. Okay, Audrey has another question here. And how can you objectively tell that you are ready to play in front of others as leisure? By that, I mean, are there any metrics to help you assess yourself? For instance, tricks to let you know if your sound is good enough, your pitch is consistent enough, your musicality is sufficient. I find it hard to evaluate my own sound. I tend to look for perfection, which prevents me from recognizing something that is just good enough to most ears. And I'm too shy to barge in just like that and wait to see if people run away or not. Which tune or tunes from the Shoten book would, in your opinion, would be the best to play outside during a trip to Japan, and why? Okay, so I'll try to hit both of these pretty quickly. There are 3 objective standards that I think that you can use for yourself. Objective standard number 1 is pitch. Objective standard number 2 is rhythm. Objective standard number 3 is tone. If you have those 3 things and you feel fairly confident, there should be no issue in terms of starting to play in front of people. However, I wouldn't recommend that someone who's just in the Shoten book to start to, in terms perform, like actually having on stage and start doing things. I would wait until you're at least at the end of the Okuden level or the start of the Jun Shihan level, so that way you really know what you're doing. But if you're just playing for leisure, just playing outside, maybe playing for some friends, no problem whatsoever. I think that's great, and I think it would be really good to build that expertise of playing in front of other people, as many people struggle with nerves and anxiety and so on and so forth. So what pieces from the Shoten book would I recommend? Any of the Honkyoku. Any of the Honkyoku is great. any of the lullabies, and some of the folk songs are also very nice too. Those would be the pieces that I would recommend. The reason why is because they're very melodious, and they tend to be more easy on the ears rather than trying to do some of the more, like sangkyoku music. Sangkyoku music isn't necessarily as digestible as, let's say, Chugoku Chiho no Komori Uta, or maybe something like Kuroda Bushi, and so on. So there you have it. One more question from a total of 3 hours of shakuhachi practice and study, and I think that's a really good number. I think 3 hours is a really good number. And that could just be also like as you're doing other things, you're listening to shakuhachi music, and it could just be looking at notation and just kind of thinking about it. It doesn't mean that you have to be like right there making like extreme decisions and so on. Okay, let's go on here. One more question from Audrey. Can you safely sit in the sun and play your shakuhachi without risk of snapping, cracking, or getting damaged in any other way? Yes, there's no problem with that. Sasabuki asks here, Sensei, will you answer your question? We'll answer your question, of course, but this is him answering somebody else. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. Robert asked this. He says, I'm coming to Japan soon and would appreciate this question answered. Why is it so difficult to find places to practice in Japan? And how can I find more about where I can? Okay, so there is, I'll tell you why it is so difficult to find a place to practice in Japan. So Japan is very hyper conscientious about noise pollution, even though they're not very good about protecting noise pollution. So, if, like, for example, if you live in Osaka, there is a lot of noise, and it is hard to get to sleep at night. Right? It can be very loud outside, even until 2-3 in the morning. So people who are inside their apartments when you play, they're going to be very, very upset with you if you are making a bunch of noise, even at like 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night. So that's the main reason why it's so hard to find a place to practice in, and so on. They're very, very specific about noise. Now, let's say you want to find a place to practice and you're not necessarily caring about, I need absolute silence or anything like this. First place that you can go practice is a karaoke booth. If you go into a karaoke booth, it's like during the day, $3 an hour or something like that. If you go to an upscale one, it's like $5. Nighttime is more expensive. It'll be more like $10 an hour or something like that to use the room. But then you can just play all you want, and then you can put your favorite pop tunes on in the karaoke, and then you can play shakuhachi into the mic, put on some epic reverb, and there you go. So then you got yourself your own little kind of studio setup with playing shakuhachi over all your favorite enka tunes. Now, so that's one option. There is another option where they have music studios in Japan, and these are a little bit more expensive. It usually starts at, there's an entrance fee, which is usually about $2.50, and then you pay an hourly rate of 1,300 yen. So it'd be like US $10 an hour. And that would be during the weekdays. On the weekends, it goes up significantly. It'd be more like $15 to $20 an hour on the weekends. They have smaller rooms and bigger rooms, so just pick one of the smaller rooms. They're soundproof, and you can record and do all the things that you want to do in there. A lot of them have really good Wi-Fi as well, so do the karaoke booths, but the karaoke booths' Wi-Fi is not going to be as fast as the studio Wi-Fi. And then now the third place that you could go is you can go to a shrine. Now, Shinto shrines would be okay to play at, but temples are not going to be okay. Temples are usually active, and they still have people that are there and working. And if you can imagine, someone like a monk is trying to, write out his, things for the temple, creating schedules, creating lists, and doing his job in peace. And then somebody comes by and plays shakuhachi at the front of the temple. You can imagine that would not go down very well. So do not play shakuhachi at temples. It is considered to be very rude. However, shrines are okay, because typically shrines don't have anybody who's working there, and there might be people that come up and pray, but as long as you are, not intrusive or being, belligerent, it should be fine. Just play your honkyoku and, be on your own. Another place that you could go is you could go to any of the national parks. So, for example, Shinjuku Gyoen would be a great place. It's huge. The entry fee for it is not that much, and it's an absolute gorgeous spot to sit down and play shakuhachi for a little bit. You can also go out into the wilderness and go hiking and play as well. So, lots of options in terms of playing and places that you can go to do that. Okay, let's see here. So Svenja asks a follow-up question on a previous question, which is, those pieces are so short, referring to the Shoden ones. How can we make it longer? So for example, I think that something even like Honshirabe or Choshi can be played multiple times in a row. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Or even if, let's say, you have like a piece like Chugoku Chiho. Well, they're set up like a typical, pop song, right? You have like your intro, then you have verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And so you can play it like that and repeat the inside before you actually go to the coda of the piece. So there are many ways that you can repeat certain sections of the pieces to elongate them. Let's see here. Going on, Dat Guitar says, I'm interested in listening to shakuhachi guitar duet compositions. Please give me some suggestions. I don't know about any pieces that are exclusively written for shakuhachi and guitar. But I'm pretty sure that Riley Lee has some stuff where he had some stuff with a guitarist as well. And then, as HSBP just said, Rodrigo Rodriguez also has a couple of those with guitar as well. There's a buddy of mine who plays Brahms guitar and standard classical guitar, and we're planning on doing some collaborations in the future as well. So once we get together, maybe we should do a CD. So Joseph, I don't know if you're watching, but if I'm gonna reach out to you later, let's do a CD of Brahms guitar and shakuhachi. We'll do some new pieces, and I'll write something, and then we'll do some Takamitsu or something like that. So Dat Guitars, thank you very much for that. We'll get that happening. Svenja, it totally depends on what you're used to. After Quito, Osaka was so quiet. That's where you live. Is it Quito? Is where you're living? Yeah, Quito could be extremely loud. I bet that's very, very loud. Okay, going on some more here. Okay, so Ernie answers the karaoke and the temples and shrines. Good. HSPP puts out the Rodrigo stuff. That's right. Let's see here. Rodrigo has a couple of originals that are wonderful. Okay, Linus beat me to it. I know you don't live in Quito, Svenja. I know that you are, but near it. And I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that city that you live in. It's too much for me, too difficult. Okay, so we actually ended all of the Discord questions a little bit earlier today. So if you have other questions that you would like to ask about shakuhachi, please put them into the chat now. While we wait for our next set of questions that come up, let me give you another little advertisement. So we have the YouTube membership, which can be found right here. So if you want to learn more about shakuhachi and take lessons online for a very low amount of money, you can sign up for that. The first level gives you access to about 20 to 25 different videos. The second level is just over 100 videos. The third level is about 150, and then the fourth one is over 200 and counting. I'm still making videos for that series as well, and they go in order of difficulty over time. So just sign up for that. They each have their prices there. When you sign up, you also get a chance to win one of the 4 Yozan shakuhachis. You don't have to do anything else if you're signed up. If you are already signed up, you're good. You don't have to do anything else. You're already in, and we can get you set up for okay. So but anyways, you have Svenja, if you can ask that question in the chat, that would be better. Then if so anyways, you have a chance to win a new beginner shakuhachi from Yozan, which we'll be giving away on September 30th at 11 a.m. And then we'll be giving 3 others away in the coming months. So we have September, which is this month. We are giving away one in November, one in January, and then I believe the next one after that will be in March. So, but it depends on how our subscribers go, because we're trying to, my team and I are trying to figure out what we want to do for 25,000 and 50,000, and we're not quite sure. I will tell you one thing though. If we hit 50,000, one of the things that I'm wanting to do is I'm going to give out a scholarship to somebody to take shakuhachi lessons for the whole year. So we have some things in the pipeline that are really excited. So please help the channel grow. The more that the channel grows, the more that we can do for the shakuhachi community worldwide, the more flutes we can give away. We can just keep doing more and more things. And the more shakuhachi players there are, I think the world would be that much of a better place. So I had a message from my student Svenja. Okay. Let's see here. Let me pull that message up really quickly because she says I'm using terms that people don't know. Okay. You mentioned coda and a couple other terms that many people don't know yet. Maybe could be an extra material for chuden or okuden. Okay, so yes. So sometimes I utilize terms that maybe the average person doesn't know, that just that jargon isn't a part of your daily vernacular that you pull from your mental lexicon. And so, for example, like the term coda, right? The term coda means tail, right? It's the tail end of a piece. It's the last section of a piece before it closes. So that's what I mean by that. Or the verse is, where you have a set of lyrics in a piece. The chorus, and I think those are a little bit more common because we said, oh, let's sing the chorus. I know the chorus of the song, right? The thing that repeats, that's consistent, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if I ever say a term that you're unfamiliar with, please ask me to clarify. Sometimes I go off and I start speaking music theory terms, and then my mind is like, oh yeah, they know exactly what I'm talking about, and then they go, I don't know what language you're speaking. I was actually talking to my student this morning about this. There's this kind of meme where there's these musicians up there who are talking about music theory, and then the teacher turns around and goes, come on guys, it's not rocket science. And then it flips to this other screen, and there's all these scientists learning about rocket science, and then the teacher turns around and goes, come on guys, it's not music theory. So they're very difficult in their own regards. Okay, so Mark Barnett, gravity is the physical force that governs our life on Earth as physical beings. What is the fundamental force that gravitates our life as musical beings and performers? Breath, the breath of life, which is God-given. Dat guitar, yes, more shakuhachi will make the world a better, peaceful place. Agree 100%. Yeah, so there you have it. Dat guitar believes it, so therefore you should believe it too. Right? That is not a logical fallacy, and it is not an argument from authority, but I'm just saying that Dat guitar believes it, therefore you should believe it, so everybody should play shakuhachi, and I think the world would be just that much of a better place. Okay, so I think that does it in terms of those questions. So let me move back over to the Discord very quickly to see if we have any other questions that popped up that I missed, because sometimes I miss questions and then I get a message later that says, how come you didn't answer my question? And then I have to apologize. Let's see here. I think I answered all of those. Yes, the Europe rotation will come back around again, so we'll the next couple of live streams I believe will be later in the day. It just depends on what's happening. Oh, I should tell you guys about the concert that I had this last week before I sign off, and then also what's coming up too. So next week's live stream will be at a later time, and we're going to be on the 16th. I'll be doing the live stream around 2 o'clock, 2:30. I haven't finalized it completely yet, but that will be our 5th live stream, and the 6th live stream will also be on the European schedule. Then after that, we're going to go back to more of the American Japanese morning schedule once again. So we'll kind of have this 2-week rotation back and forth. Of course, you can always watch the live streams later. They will be archived, and I won't get rid of them. Yes, so my concert, I had this really interesting concert that I did with a pianist here in Japan, and we rented out a concert hall which is inside of a sake brewery company. So the company is Nihonshu, and it is Sawada Shuzo is the name of the company. So I'll write that out in the chat really quickly. Sawada Shuzo, and it's quite a very famous company in Japan too. We did a sake tasting with the music as well. So we did a variety of tunes. We did some Elgar, we did some Honkyoku. I premiered a piece that I wrote. We did some enka, which is, if you don't know what enka is, you need to look it up. It is fantastic, really, really good music. It's actually one of the most popular musical genres in Asia. But anyways, it was a fantastic performance. People really had a great time. I had a great time. I thought that we played the music very wonderfully. So if you're interested in watching that concert, you can watch that concert if you join the membership on the Okuden level. So join that Okuden level, you get the concert access pass, and you'll be able to watch all of my concerts, both past and future events that are coming up. So that was on Saturday. And what I noticed is that every single time I do a concert, the next day I am completely dead. I can't do anything. I'm so exhausted. So yesterday I basically was in bed all day. I woke up, I made breakfast, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go back to bed. I can't do this anymore. And then I slept in until about noon, woke up, made lunch for everybody, and then I just hung out in bed, and my daughter and I just watched movies all day. So, but today we're actually going to get out and we're going to do stuff, and so on. So Svenja asked another question: is enka a part of your curriculum? No, it is not. And I don't necessarily want to put it as a part of the curriculum because it's a very different style of playing, and a lot of those enka pieces are quite difficult. But if somebody was interested in learning them, I would have no problem teaching them and showing them how to do that kind of stuff if they were interested. Okay. So now here's what's coming up really cool. We have this really interesting event happening this weekend on the 14th. So for those who are living in Japan, so Naraに住んでる方々と関西の方の住んでる方々は新しいイベントもうすぐは行いますので、14日に奈良のニューという町で特別な月見のイベントをします。もし興味があったら、私のウェブサイトのご覧にいただいてお願いします。So yeah, we have this really beautiful event, which is a moon viewing party. So if you are in Japan right now and you are in the Kansai area, please take a look at my website. We have the event on September 14th, and I would absolutely love to have you there. It is a moon viewing party, which is a very traditional thing. So like a very traditional event. Let me actually post that in here. So I'll pull up that journal, that little thing that's coming up. Find that little part. There it is. Oh, I didn't put up the picture for it. Here it is. I will actually, let me put up, that won't work. I will put the Facebook group up of it. So I will pull that up. So in case anybody is interested, let me see if I can find it. Sorry about that. 1 second. Shouldn't take me long to find the thing. Here it is. I found it. Okay. So there is a way to sign up for it through Okuda company. So I'm going to basically share their event that's coming up. Here is the Facebook event. So if you are interested, そこの、投稿した Facebook のリンクでもし興味があればそれをクリックしてご覧にいただいて、それは月見のイベントなんですけれども、夕飯も尺八の音楽を発表します。So there you go. Yeah, we have it. So SYD has a question, and he is saying, "Hi Sean, I want to ask you about Sankyoku piece. I played with my shamisen friend using Sakura 2 Shakuhachi piece, but it seems we have a different scale, which my friend told me that we can't play together." So shamisen players can tune their instruments. They can change it and so on. Most likely, you're playing, if you're starting on the note Re for the Shakuhachi, your shamisen counterpart will probably be starting on the note Re. So try starting the tune on Re, and you should line up with him no problem. Ask what his starting note is in Western pitch, and you can also find out what your starting note is in Western pitch as well, and that could be a really nice way to get everybody locked in together to, sounding pretty good. So you can play together, you just might have to be a little bit more flexible with what scales you're using. On the shakuhachi, we can play a variety of scales. So thank you very much for your question. And もう一度私はこんちゃん、本当に聞いていただいてありがとうございます。ある日はぜひ一緒に遊んで来ていただきたいと思います。一緒にシャカチ吹いてものすごい嬉しいと思います。Okay. And so I'm really hoping that we can have Kon-chan over here to my house and play some shakuhachi together. He's a very exciting person and knows a lot about shakuhachi stuff, which is really fun. Okay, so I think that calls it for today. Thank you all so much, people all over the world. We have people in South America, Central America, even some people who are popping in from Europe, as well as members that are living in Australia, as well as Japan. So row for 10. See you guys next week for the next live stream.